Hello friends, welcome to this reading and explaining video for Biology Grade 7 Chapter 1 Plant and Animal Tissue. So let's go ahead with the reading. You have studied that cell is the structural and functional unit of life, which we know. All living organisms, plants, animals are made up of tiny microscopic cells. So cells are the structural and the functional unit of life. The cell, whether that of a unicellular organism or a multicellular organism, consists of protoplasm, the living substance. You have also learnt about this earlier. Here we have a look at the hierarchy, that from the cell tissues are formed, and from the tissue organs are formed. From the organs we have organ system, and organ systems give rise to an organism. So we know about this. Now we move further with the text. The organelles are arranged in a highly organized manner to perform specific functions. Cells organize to form tissue, tissues organize to form organs, and organs further form organ system. The organ systems are present in both plants and animals of higher groups. Thus one can say that the bodies of plants and animals are organized structures, and hence they are called organisms. So let's move further here. Tissues. A multicellular organism, like the animal and plants that we call, are multicellular organisms. Then they start their life as a single cell, the fertilized egg or zygote. The fertilized egg divides repeatedly to produce thousands, millions or billions of cells, trillions in the human body. Some of these cells form skin, some form the muscles, and some other form the bones, and still others form blood. Now you get the definition of tissue here. A group of cells which are similar in structure and perform a specific function form a tissue. For example, the surface cells of the skin form one tissue. The cells consisting muscles are contractile and constitute the muscle tissue. Or the green cells of a leaf form one tissue, and the wood forming cells of the stem constitute another tissue. So we came to know here that a group of cells which are similar in structure and perform a specific function form a tissue. Let's have a look at the kinds of tissues. The body of plants and animals consists of different types of tissues, each of which perform a specific function. So first let's have a look at the plant tissue. So for this we have a beautiful table. If we have a look at the table, it will be much easier for us to see that how plant tissues are divided here. So let's have a look here. This is the entire table given on page number 7. So if we look little closely here, plant tissues are divided into meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. Meristematic tissue means actively dividing cells. They produce more cells by dividing. So in meristematic tissues, cell division is taking place. Whereas when we have a look at permanent tissue, cells, these are specialized cells. They perform a particular function and they do not divide. So they are specialized, they perform a particular function and they do not divide, and these are known as the permanent tissue. When we go further with permanent tissue, we can see the permanent tissue is further divided into protective tissue on the surface of the root, stem and leaves. These are known as protective tissue. Then second category is the supportive tissue, and more details are given which we will come to. And then there is also conducting tissue. So protective tissue is on the surface. We came to know about it right now. Now let's have a look at supporting tissue. Supporting tissue is further divided into parenchyma. These are large thin-walled cells. Second category is collenchyma, elongated cells thickened at the corner. And sclerenchyma, long, narrow and dead thick-walled cells. So supportive tissue is divided into three types: parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Then we come to conducting tissue, and when you look at conducting tissue here, we understand that conducting tissue is divided into two types. One is xylem, thick-walled tubular dead cells transporting water and minerals to the different parts of the plant. And the second one is phloem, tubular living cells providing passage for the upward and downward movement of food prepared by green leaves. So we came to know that plant tissue is divided into meristematic and permanent tissue. Permanent tissue is further divided into protective tissue, supporting tissue and conducting tissue. Supportive tissue is further divided into parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. And conducting tissue is further divided into xylem and phloem. I hope the plant tissue classification or the types of plant tissues in this table is clear to us and will be easy for us to understand. So we come back to where we were, plant tissues, and now we are going to look into the details of each. First comes meristematic or meristematic tissues. These are made up of actively dividing cells. Their only function is to produce more cells, leading to the growth of plant body. Meristematic tissue are found at all the growing points wherever the plant grows. So at the tip of the plant, where the plant is growing for its height, there will be apical meristematic tissue. Then there will be lateral meristematic tissue as at the across the stem's thickness, or the girth of the stem will be increased by that, and then between the two nodes the branch will be increasing by internodal meristematic tissue. So we will have a look here. The growth in the thickness of the stem is also due to the meristematic tissue, and that tissue is, as I told you, I've already informed you, yes, that there were three types of meristematic tissue. That one is apical, that takes care of the length. Then comes the lateral meristematic tissue, takes care of the thickness, and there is internodal meristematic tissue that will take care of the length of the branch to develop. Then we come to the characteristics of meristematic tissue. Here the cells are small, the cell wall is thin, the nucleus are large and conspicuous. The cells are almost without vacuoles, and the cells actively divide to add new cells, which we know. We come to the second one. The next plant tissue is permanent, which means non-dividing tissues. The permanent tissues form the bulk of the plant. These tissues do not divide, they become specialized and remain the same throughout their life. New cells are formed when the meristematic cell divides. These newly formed cells grow, mature and get differentiated into various types of permanent tissues. Permanent tissue do not divide further. A permanent tissue is a group of cells in which growth has either stopped completely or for the time being. A permanent tissue is a group of cells in which growth has either stopped or for the time being it has stopped. The permanent tissue can be classified into two main: simple permanent tissue that helps it to provide support and protection, and the second one that we are looking at here is the complex permanent tissue that helps in conduction of nutrition and water. Simple permanent tissue again divided into two types: protective tissue and supportive tissue. As we have already discussed about the protective tissue, it consists of cells with thick cell wall. These are found on the surface of the root, stems and leaves. So where they are found is also important. Protective tissue on the surface of root, stem and leaves. Example: epidermis of the leaves, which secrete a waxy waterproof substance. You might have observed that water drops falling on a leaf do not stick to it. Supportive tissue. Supporting tissues has mainly three categories: parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Now parenchyma is composed of large thin-walled cells, usually with intercellular spaces. These are the living cells and are found in the soft part of the plant. We read further. The store food material and also provide. So parenchyma stores food material and also provides temporary support to the plant. Potatoes are mainly composed of parenchyma cells storing starch. Some of parenchyma cells contain chlorophyll and they are present in the leaves. Then we come to collenchyma. It is made up of living cells which are elongated and are thick at the corner of the edges. The tissue is found in the leaf stalks and below the epidermis in the stem. The tissue helps in the support of the plant parts. Then we come to sclerenchyma here. It is composed of long, narrow and thick-walled cells. These are dead cells. These tissues provide strength to the plant part. It is found in stems and veins of the leaves, mostly as fibers. Now if we have a look at a comparison given here, it makes things much more easier for us. Parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Characteristics, location and function. I believe from these a lot of questions can come, so we need to just focus on studying parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma with regards to its characteristics, location and function. Let's have a look at parenchyma first. Here you'll find that the cells are spherical, thin-walled with a large intercellular space, consist of living cells at maturity. Location is they are found throughout the plant in every soft part. Function is they help in photosynthesis, respiration, storage of food, buoyancy in the case of aquatic plants. Then we come to collenchyma. Here the cells are elongated cells with unevenly thickened cell walls at the edges, like little intercellular spaces are present between the cells. They consist of living cells at maturity. Found in petioles of the plant we find the veins of the leaves and the young stem. So this is the location where they're found. Then provide a flexible mechanical support to the plant. Now what is important here, it is flexible is the word that we need to remember with collenchyma. So it provides flexible mechanical support. So mechanical support is there, but it's quite flexible. Here when we come to sclerenchyma, the cells are long, narrow, thick-walled. Intercellular spaces are absent. They consist of dead cells at maturity. They're found in mature parts of the plant like the wood, the bark. Now they provide a rigid mechanical and structural support to the plant. So you can see here also mechanical support is provided, but here it is rigid, it's not flexible. Then we come to the third one, which is the complex permanent tissue. And complex permanent tissues or conducting tissue, also known as vascular tissue, it provides a passage for the transport of material in the plants. Xylem and phloem are the two types of conducting tissues. Xylem is formed of thick-walled tubular and often dead cells. These cells are placed end to end. The partition between the cells dissolve to form long channels for the transport of water and minerals. So we know that xylem is required for the transport of water and minerals. The xylem tissues consist of tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fiber. So most of these cells are dead except xylem parenchyma. Many times they ask you which is the exceptional part of the xylem tissue that is alive, not dead. Then we have to say xylem parenchyma. Rest all are dead. So xylem cells transport water and minerals absorbed by the roots from the soil upward to the leaves. So the water is used in preparing glucose during photosynthesis or lost as water vapor in transpiration. And let's have a look. This is how xylem. This is how the xylem looks. That's the make of the xylem, the structure of it. You can see how it is, and water is transported through it. Xylem. Great. Now we come to the next one here. Here we go. So old xylem forms the wood and does not participate in transportation of food. So we can say that old xylem does not do transportation. So we come to the next part, which is phloem. Phloem is formed of living tubular cells which provide a passage for the downward and upward movement of food. So phloem helps in the transfer of food manufactured by the leaves or in the leaves to the various parts of the plants. So as xylem helps in the transportation of water, phloem actually helps with the transportation of food. Now the phloem consists of sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma, and phloem fiber. So we know that most of the part of the phloem is living, but there is one known as phloem fiber, which is actually the dead part in it. So exception in phloem is the phloem fibers that are actually dead, whereas all are living. The structure of phloem, you can have a look here. This is how the phloem is. This is the structure of phloem as given here. Great. Have a look at the comparison between the two. If a question comes about, please explain the difference between xylem and phloem, the answer can be extracted from here. Xylem, phloem. Xylem transports water, phloem conducts food. Now, xylem is mostly made up of dead cells, except xylem parenchyma, and phloem is mostly made up of living cells, except the phloem fiber. Now conduction is unidirectional in the case of xylem because the conduction is always upwards as the water is taken from the roots to the rest of the plant. Whereas in phloem, it will be multidirectional or bidirectional because the food is manufactured in the leaf, and from the leaf it is being transferred downwards as well as upward to various parts of the plant. Once again, we can just have a look at the table that is given here that we have already covered. Plant tissue, meristematic tissue, permanent tissue, protective, supportive, conducting tissue, supporting tissue, parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, conducting tissue is xylem and phloem. Let's have a look at this diagram as well. Tissue in a woody stem. Xylem rings indicate the age of the stem. Here is a diagrammatic sketch of the cross section of a 3-year-old woody stem. The cambium or the meristematic tissue gives the new xylem ring every year. So these rings that we are seeing in this log that has been chopped from here, okay, so these are the annual rings of the xylem, okay, and in between we have the pith, then we have the cambium layers here and the ray here. But what is most important that we really want to see here is the xylem rings. So if we count the xylem rings here, then with that the scientists can easily find out the age of the tree. That's quite a destructive I must admit it's quite a destructive way of finding the age of the tree, because in this case the tree has to be cut and then only you will come to know. But then in case there is an old tree that has already been cut, and after the tree is cut and then you want to know how old this tree was, this is one way of finding out the annual rings of the xylem. I hope that is clear. Then let's also have a look at another activity here. To study different types of plant tissues, request your teacher to provide prepared slides of various plant tissues. Take these slides one by one and place them on the microscope. Ask your teacher to properly focus the slides and then study it. Now, since we are not in the lab, the bio lab, so we can't do this activity, but we can just go ahead and have a look at what exactly is given to us in this textbook here. Parenchyma. Look at the large thin wall cells and you will see a large vacuole. Copy this diagram in your notebook. Well, that's not required. Just have a look and see that are you able to see intercellular spaces? Yes. Big vacuoles. Oh yes, big vacuoles as well. Thin walls. Oh yes, we can say thin walls. Let's have a look at parenchyma. Elongated walls which have thick walls. Okay, so elongated cells. Oh yes. Thick walls. Oh yes. The smaller intercellular spaces. Here the spaces were more, here the intercellular spaces are less comparatively. That's good. We can see here. And then we have a look at sclerenchyma here. Long and narrow cells. Oh yes, long and narrow cells. We can see this. Then they are thick walled. Oh yes, of course, the walls are very thick here. We can see the walls are extremely thick compared to the other. And also we can also see that there are no intercellular spaces. So we can get a comparison here. Let's have a look at xylem and phloem as well. So look at the thick walled tubular struct cells here. These cells are placed end to end like a drain pipe. So they are saying here these are the cells that are put end to end like a drain pipe, and they're calling it like a drain pipe in xylem. They came to phloem here. Tubular structure lined with cells having distinct nuclei. Yes, nucleus can be seen very clearly here. So this is a little explanation on the text that is given, and it was a reading exercise, reading and understanding exercise. So we have done up to plant tissues. Now in the next video we will do same reading and explanation of the animal tissues. Thank you so much and God bless you.